right? Like, yeah, we're all in the same, well, we used to all be living in the same fucking planet.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like we're all in the same existence. And so like, yeah, we all know whatever the new hot fad is, whatever. And so the key, what I think I've learned in the time I've been doing stand-up is like, it's about your voice. No one has lived your experience. No one had, you know, Egg McMuffins was their favorite on top of, oh, how old were you when the Challenger happened? If you were even, you know what I mean? Like it's really about, it's like when you see a comedian in a movie, right? George Carlin played George Carlin in every movie George Carlin was ever in, because he had, that character was so defined that like, it was such a well-defined character that they hired someone to be George Carlin, the character, right? Like, and so I think that that's really what is what makes people have the ability to joke about things, but hit it from their point of view and nail it, right? Like, no, honing your voice.
Yeah. But so, all right. So if you're doing comedy for Women's Week, which is a big, it's in October in P-Town, right? When all the women come to P-Town. It's like the Mecca. I do a joke about, I went on a Melissa Etheridge cruise, you know, another thing, the Mecca of all the lesbians, right? Yep. I always, you know, I do the joke. I'm like, you know, I mean, Catholics go to the Vatican, lesbians go to the Melissa cruise. It's the Mecca.
Yeah, 100%.
So, sure. But, so when you're doing that, those like, because your jokes are edgy, man, you know, and I feel they are, and I love it. Like, that's, you know what I mean? But I'm even like nervous to say the word dyke in my jokes, Kristen.
Yeah. Well,
I'm so confused on my line, and it's really fucked with my writing.
Are you a dyke?
I can't be. Why not?
But I mean, I get it, because I think, you know, it's really about like,
you got way better dyke. You know, yeah. I'm the man in the relationship. I mean, like, that's though. like, are you talking about dyke as your experience? Or are you talking about dyke because you date dykes? Like what? Like, no. Because I mean, like, all right, just my girlfriend's like, you can't say dyke, you have to say lesbian.
Why?
That's what I said. Why?
Why? You don't have to say lesbian. You say fucking dyke. That's like, if there's one thing we have to hold on to, is if we can't talk about other people by slang names, we can at the very least talk about ourselves,
right?
Names, right? Like, no, dyke. You can definitely say dyke.
So do you?
I did have.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, what were you gonna say?
No, I was like, do you ever have some of the lesbians in your audience? I mean, because obviously you're performing sometimes to primarily, especially if it's Women's Week. I mean, you're not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you find that they get offended more so or less so?
I mean, you got to remember that, like, I think they get offended? Sometimes you have to remember that I'm adorable, right? Like, let's just start there. That just really helps.
Yeah.
You get away with shit, right? Like, just if you could be adorable while you're telling them filthy jokes they really don't want to hear, that helps a lot.
Okay.
I find, but also that, like, you know, these women, you know, lesbians have been activists and motherfucking badass women for all of eternity.
Right.
Like, that has just been the role. And while I might not be their cup of tea, number one, they like fucking supporting female performers. So,
right.
You know what I mean? Number two, they respect the fact that women are individuals and are allowed to have their own perspectives. Right. So, like, they might not laugh as hard, and I might be able to feel it on the way out that, like, I wasn't for them.
Okay.
But I've never really had anybody be like, how, you know, you did what?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, there's never been any. I've had older women go, like, because in P-Town you do a show, and then, like, you're kind of, well, like in every show, like here they move them in and out pretty quick, so it's kind of a quick line of people. But, you know, you hang, you say goodbye to all the people in the audience. Yeah. And you can tell, you know, like, some of them are like, you know, and they want, and then some of them are like, and they just keep walking with a real stern face, and they,
Yeah.
they give you a little lesbian nod, and someone
Yeah.
like, "Oh my God, we love you," right? Like,
Okay.
and it's
So it's
kind
different.
of
Yeah, it's
go
the same, right?
like, "Oh yeah, it's."
Mhm. I think the political correctness that's been just going on right now has just really like I said, it's just really fucked with my head. And I'm always like, am I going to offend? Um, and then I was thinking like,
Well, it's terrifying. Let's be clear. It's terrifying right now. Like I've been like trying to figure out my relationship with social media and like what do I want to, because the reality is that like you can say one thing and then the entire world literally might tell you to go fuck yourself like out of nowhere, and you might not even see it coming, and like
yeah,
the world like not just like like there's one thing when it was like, oh, all the cool kids in high school. Now we're talking about even the fucking dumbass idiots from all across the world can jump on you. So it's a terrible,
it's, I mean,
it's
this
a very
cancel
vulnerable place
culture
to
is
be.
scary. It's fucking scary sometimes. And
It's
yeah.
it also prevents people from being able to be sorry. Like there's a lot of what's happening right now where I'm like, I was thinking about the concept of penance the other day. I'm not religious or anything, but I went to a Catholic school, and
Yeah,
like
me
just
too.
this idea that like, right, so like, oh, so people just agreed that like you could do these things, and once you did these things you got to move on with your life. And we as a society, as we awaken and we like see all the things that are fucking happening in the world, we haven't decided what those things are, right? Like what make, like, all right, you said this and this and it was horrible, and yes, everyone was saying this and that time, and that was fucking horrible too. But like what we don't know what the punishment, the appropriate thing is. And if we had lived in a society of reparations and like and the kind of jailing where like we're trying to repair each other, then it would be okay. But we live in this like punitive, like you did this and so now you need to be damaged this month
And the
this
rules
much, and like,
right, and they keep changing for me. So now I was like, oh, I can't say dyke anymore because I posted it on Facebook. I'm in a private group, one of a lot of them, and I was talking about this a couple weeks ago on the podcast, and I used the term baby dyke to
yeah,
a lot of the little lesbians that work for me at the pizza shop. I'm telling
because
you,
they're baby dykes.
they're so adorable, and it's a term of endearment, and they are not offended when something breaks and one of them little 22-year-old dykes gets out that wrench and comes to fix it. I'm like, I am so proud of you. You are making me proud, my little baby dyke. It's a term of endearment. So I had put that in Facebook, like, put me in jail. Like it must have flagged the word dyke. So now I'm like, okay, I'm not allowed to say this word. And then people are like, well, it's not appropriate. So what's going to happen to dykes on bikes, Kristen? Where are they going to go?
No, I mean, I definitely have I cannot run, like I can't sell t-shirt sales, Dykes a Hazard, like that no more. That doesn't work anymore. I can't run ads.
That's what I saw your shirt, Dykes have had. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. I used to be able to, I think it's just, we're in this like gigantic transitional like phase of our country, of like, it seems like the world, there's a lot of upheaval and unrest everywhere. And like, it's probably going to take a decade till we figure out what the fuck, you know what I mean? Like we're in the thick of it right now. Right. We're in the fucking mud. And like, I think it's just going to take a minute before we know like what, there's a lot to be said for reading the room, like I always say with comedy, it's like, yes, you can play 1,000-seat venue, but should you? Because like part of the art form is the connection we have with the audience.
It's tough.
Part of the reason you can say the things that you say is because the people in the audience can feel you and feel that your intent is good. Right. So like maybe comedy should max out at 300-400 seats. Maybe that's what the art form, maybe there's a reason why the art form existed there. And maybe there's more call out culture because the guy who's sitting, on balcony row 6 is kind of disconnected and you're not really hitting that back of the room. And so the things you're trying to say aren't music and they're not falling, and they catch a segment of it. And what? Oh, fuck this guy. I'm going to tweet about what a racist piece of shit this guy is. And in reality, the person just wasn't focused for the, for the joke. And I'm not saying that the comic was shitty. I'm just saying that I'm not sure that it translates in in a volatile culture, like I think all the venues should be small on the way back, maybe, you know, like, oh, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like there's something to what comedy is and the way it gets presented. And I don't know. I'm also high. Who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's, you know, and I was, and that's one thing after I saw you, I was like, oh, and then as this, you know, cancel culture got more and more and more. And then like I said, I got booted for saying the word dyke. And now I'm like, man, I wonder like how your comedy goes over. And I'm sure you have a million other things that are as edgy, you know what I mean? You were doing Stanhope. I probably saw your edgy, you know, very edgy stuff, you know?
Yeah, I
But
mean, the reality is that right now, who knows, right? I mean, I think the last show that I did was a college gig in Virginia, and I
yeah,
did some pretty edgy stuff. But again, it was a small room, and it was all the queer kids, and
yes.
I could develop a relationship with them. Like, hey, I'm going to push a few buttons, cool, and they're like, yeah, push a few buttons,
Yeah,
and
but do
okay.
you think that the younger queer generation right now gets as offended as the 65-year-old? When it comes to gay stuff, when it comes to queer material, kind of, you know what I
I
mean?
think that there is a comfort level with young people that it just isn't weird. And I feel like there are some people who are still, I mean, I don't know. I think it is just a generational gap. Like I did a show one time, this is maybe like 10 years ago, in Canada, and it was at like a small theater, like 100-seat little theater. And it was a variety show. And there was two women who had a child. I'm not even sure their a young daughter, maybe. I'm unsure. Irrelevant to the story. Doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter. I had a kid, and the kid was like 15. And after the show, I was like, oh my god, I didn't even know there was a 15-year-old here. And their moms were like, oh, do you know what's on TV today? Like, you're fine. Like, they were,
Yeah,
you know, like it was just this thing where I was so like, oh my God, I can't believe that. And they were
yeah,
like, no, like you're nothing compared to what is shown on television and the internet. And like,
right,
you
right,
know, so
absolutely.
that really helped me a lot. It made me like realize that like, oh, right, the next generations are at a completely different level of exposure to things
Yes, that's a good
that we
point.
just
That's
weren't at,
very
you
true.
know?
Yep, that is a different generation of that. Yep. But so I am like, well, I don't know what's going to happen when comedy comes back, but it's
Yeah.
looking like we're getting close, Kristen.
It does, and that's exciting and fun. And I've been leaning into characters and sketch a little bit right now. I've got like a couple different projects going, and like I love stand up, and I want to continue to get better at stand up, and I want to like continue to push myself. But it didn't translate for me. I hated Zoom shows as stand up, but I didn't mind them if I was in character. So like I just started doing stuff like Sandy Claus and Sergeant Roach, and like just
Yeah,
like doing
you're doing
different
a lot of
things.
like skits and stuff, right? Well, you're doing the characters and you're doing a lot of skits
Yeah,
with
and
them.
working on sketch comedy in
Mm-hmm.
where I live now, like you know, P-Town, we're working on a P-Town sketch show, which is super fun. And you know, just kind of I've got the summer program that I run,
Yep.
and I've been trying to write because the only thing I've been able to write lately have been like opinion, like op-eds, you know, like, oh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
poignant and a little witty, and here's my, you know, 1,200 words, and that's what's coming out of me right now. So I try to do that,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm just kind of putting it all on the Patreon and like basically saying like, I don't know what I am. Like, you know, I've done this and I've done this and I've done this and I produced podcasts. I've been on podcasts and I tour with a preacher and I started a not-for-profit and I was a GM of a club and I've been a comic for 20 years. And, you know, like, so how about we just say that you trust that I'm going to make content of some sort and I'll
Yeah.
make sure to put things up a couple times, but it might be a sketch and it might be an op-ed and it might be here's
Well, yeah, it's entertainer. You're an entertainer. You
yeah,
know,
it's all of
it's
it.
a wide variety of things.
It's
You
all of
know.
it. It's
Yeah.
all of it. And some of it is, you know, some of it is a not for profit. And here's the kids we're helping. And, you know, and this is all of what I'm doing. And I'm creating all these things. And if you want to support it, that sounds great. And so
Yeah.
that for me has felt like, all right, now I've taken the pressure off of, I need to book a stand up show on this date because the vaccine is this date and this, you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
just kind of
Right.
let me exist a little bit more in the
Yeah.
not planning because my Virgo brain was going crazy trying to figure out what was next. And the truth is, I don't fucking know and I don't need to rush it. So,
Yeah. I noticed for me, I bring like a pad and paper when I go to like open mics, because that's really for me the only way I can kind of work out new material.
For sure.
And I feel like going to watch everybody do their jokes. It makes my